people often get, as I mentioned before, gas. Gas stands for gear acquisition syndrome. And since I'm on YouTube and social media and Patreons, people always kind of spend a lot of time talking about the equipment. And it's sort of like gear acquisition syndrome means that the equipment is more important than the cooking. so it's like I mentioned to you, it's like going to a Pulitzer Prize winning writer and says, what's the secret to your fantastic writing? What kind of keyboard do you have? I need to buy the same keyboard as you do so I can write as well as you do. Or ask the question, what kind of golf clubs does Tiger Woods use? If I buy those golf clubs, then I'm going to be able to swing like Tiger Woods. You guys know, watching my channel, that barbecue is always about the pitmaster, never the pit. But the pit is very important. And the way you buy a pit is you want to have a few things to consider. And everyone is different. Just like I mentioned earlier, if your kid asks you, mom, dad, what kind of car should I buy? Well, it kind of depends. And it depends on many, many factors, whether you want to get a jalopy or you want to get a sports car, you want to get a convertible, you want to get a minivan. So I'm going to run through some of the items that I sent to you guys out earlier about some of the factors that to consider. Not every factor is important to everyone, but if you are looking for a pit, the first thing that you always need to think about is your moolah or money, because the budget can be as low as $30, $40 for a Smoky Joe, which works, to a kettle for $150. You can go to the WSM range for about $300 to $400. You can go past that into other areas. Pellet grills start at around $500. They go to about $2,000. And then you can go to those custom built gravity fed smokers. You can go to drums, UDSs. You can go to pit barrels. You can go to PKs. You can go to $2,000 range with things like pits and spits, built like a tank. You can go to a hasty bake, $2,000. And then beyond that, you can go to offset. And then the sky's the limit. Donna and I, who's on this call, we had a chance to visit David Close. He's the world famous pit maker from Houston, Texas, and he can make you a pit for $500,000. So it kind of depends on what scale you want, how much food you want to cook, and how much money you're willing to spend. But in general rule is I always tell people that if you are just starting out, buy yourself a Weber kettle for $150, $200 and start there, because that will allow you to build the basics of how to cook food. So any questions on budget? Cool. So let's move to the second requirement of parameter or factor is your skill level. So like Winnie on this call, she runs an offset. So for those of you who are really into the zen of putting in a log every 40 minutes, staying up all night long, burning logs, and you are highly skilled in controlling the airflow in your pit, controlling pit temps, knowing how to rotate meat, how to draft the pit, how to rotate your logs, how to pick the right kind of log, split logs. So it kind of depends on your skill level. So the easiest pit out there is a pellet cooker. So essentially you press a button on and you press a button off, and nowadays you don't even have to press it, you just do it on your phone. and some systems, you can even download the program from the website, stick the probe into your meat, and the program will do the cooking. So it kind of depends on the extreme end of the scale. You have people who actually start the fire. You've seen my videos on Tootsie Tomanes, Snow's Barbecue. In Texas, what they do is they have a burn barrel. They burn the post oak down to embers, and then they manually stick a shovel in it. And then they walk the shovel over to the cooking area, and then they spread the coals underneath these kinds of cement pits, where the coals on top, and then there's some bars, and then the meat's on top about maybe 3 feet away. So that is a very laborious way of cooking, but it depends on your skill level and how much skill you need to accomplish great barbecue. The context by which you're cooking is very important. So I'm sitting in my backyard here. So I'm cooking backyard, I'm cooking a tri-tip, and I have one more over there. So when you're cooking at home in a backyard setting, all you need to do is please yourself and please your friends, have lots of adult beverages, have free food, and everybody will say, wow, that's great food. Can I have some more? If you are a competitor, then you have different requirements of a pit because you're going to have to transport your pit on site. For those of you on this call who are competitors, you're not allowed to use electricity or gas. You have to use some kind of a charcoal or briquette. And you're allowed to use electricity to run a pellet cooker, but you cannot use electricity for heating. If you're running a catering business or you're running a restaurant business, Aaron Franklin cooks 110 briskets a night. So stop and think for a second. Every night he cooks 110 briskets. That is a lot of briskets, right? That is many, many pounds of brisket, thousands of pounds, and a lot of money. So if you have that kind of setting, the pit that you choose to use is very, very important, because when you run a restaurant, for those of you in the restaurant business, they call a prime cost. So prime cost is a cost factor that you need to manage in a restaurant setting. So if you guys like to talk about restaurant type business, let me know. I'll spawn another Zoom session. We'll talk about all the ins and outs of prime costs, variable costs, how to calculate the 67% that you need to be able to make a profit in the restaurant business. But the setting is extremely important in terms of the kinds of equipment that you buy, because in a restaurant setting, you need something that will cook large quantities of food. Winnie decided on a 500 gallon. I guarantee you soon she'll need 1,000 gallons. And then once she's done with 1,000 gallons, she'll say, I need a second 1,000 gallon, which is what happened to my buddy, Danny. Danny owns a Heritage Barbecue in San Juan Capistrano. So if you not had tried his food, please take a trip down to San Juan and check out his food. He puts out really, really great food. And then his presentation is top notch. I think in terms of all the barbecue restaurants I've eaten around the United States and around the world, I've eaten in Paris and so on, Danny has got his presentations nailed down. His plates and platters are absolutely gorgeous. So Winnie, if you want some ideas on how to up your game, go check out some of Danny's presentation. Danny was an executive chef for Whole Foods, so he knows his stuff. So you know how when you go into Whole Foods, everything is absolutely gorgeous behind the counter. That's the kind of presentation you get, when you go to one of his restaurants. I think he's already expanding now to 4 1,000 gallons. So he started with 2, going to 4. Soon he'll be opening a second place. So barbecue seems to be growing, at least in California. So if you are interested in getting to that line of business, go check out some of the other barbecue restaurants out there. So that's the number 3, which is the setting, which is either backyard, comp, catering, or restaurant. Let's jump to number 4. Number 4 is related to number 3, is capacity. So Winnie started with 2 Traegers in her business. Now she's on a 500 gallon. So the capacity is very important. So Winnie, how many briskets can you cook in a 500 now?
I don't know yet, because I won't get it till next week. But
okay.
I think the depth is about 3 feet. I think we can easily do 20 briskets.
All right. I believe Danny does 24 on a 1,000 gallon.
Oh, 24. Okay, so maybe 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the airflow is very important. So on an offset, right, drafting the pit is very important. So depending on the pit design, you have a regular offset, right? It's not a reverse flow, right?
Oh, it's regular.
Regular, yeah. So regular means that it's a torpedo-shaped pit. The firebox is on one end, the chimney is on this end. And then if you look at a offset, you will notice that there is a specific dimension in the thermodynamics. The stack is always about 1/3 the length of the cooking chamber. So the stack, right, is the draw. So the draw is usually an 8-inch circumference diameter pipe. And then they have like the Lewis band and so on that will allow the flow to be optimized. So when you have your fire here, the what do you call it? The chimney, which is 1/3 the length, sucks the air through, goes out through the chimney. And that's kind of how the magic of an offset works. That's why folks really love offsets, because of the draft. The draft is really fast. So you get a lot of hot, smoky air over the food itself. So Winnie, have you lined up a wood supplier yet?
Everybody seems to be talking about Patty from the woodshed, so I'm going to contact her.
Okay. Right? Yeah, you go talk to Patty, and Patty's my student, and she and I have collabed a number of times. So the key is make sure that you get the right kind of wood. I think she's selling post oak now, right? So you can get actually post oak, so you can get a kind of mellow post oak flavor. The choice of wood is very important if you cook in offset, because I'll run into the topic of fuel in number 11. But for now, the choice of wood is very important, and the quality of the wood is also very important. And I'll cover that for a little further down. So capacity is very important. If you're cooking for a family, Weber Smoky Mountain 18 is fine for a family. If you have a lot of people come to your house, you can get the Smoky Mountain 22. If you want to feed even more people, you can move into something a little bit bigger, like a pellet cooker. Like the pits and spit that I have is pretty big. It's got a very large cooking area. And the larger pits are usually about 36 inches. So in terms of the scale, you start at 18, you go to about 22, you go to 26, and then you go to 36. And then beyond that, you have to get into what I call the bigger cabinet kind of smokers, or bigger, what we call offset smokers. And I'll talk a little bit about that. You also have to decide if you want your pit to be a manual pit or an electric pit. So electricity means that you need to plug it in a pellet cooker hopper control unit, or you just want to run it manually. You can run, for example, like my Weber Smoky Mountain, I run it manually, and that's fine. Just make sure that your dampers are set properly. You can also add a blower attachment to a Weber Smoky Mountain. You can buy a pellet cooker. A pellet cooker is an electronic cooker, so you need electricity. That's a consideration if you're a competitor, because when you go out and compete in the parking lot, there's no electricity. You got to bring your own portable generator or hook it up to your what you call your cigarette lighter to get electricity. So whether you want an electric operated smoker, it's kind of up to you. At home, they also have these things called electric smokers, where there's a heating element, and then you put wood chips on the heating element, and it heats up the wood, and that creates the BTU. You also create the smoke that creates the magic of barbecue. So you have to decide if you would like a manual smoker, or you want an electric heated smoker, or an electronically controlled pit. So those are some of the things that you can think about. The next one, number 6. Go ahead.
How about this thing called a stoker? I believe some of the competitors used it for the smoke stoker for the Weber Smoky Mountain. What do you think about that?
Yes, you're referring to we call an automated blower system. So
yes,
people like Guru make it, people like Thermoworks make it. Stoker is out of business because John Jackson, who's from San Jose, he retired. He is a former electronics engineer in Silicon Valley. So he built the smokers like 10, 15 years ago, but he's decided he wants to retire. So I have a stoker, it still works, believe it or not. So I'm still scavenging for some spare parts. But there are many, many good automated blower system companies today. Barbecue Guru is one of them, and you can look them up on Amazon and you can see which one you like the best. Those things cost about $300. So you bought a $300 pit and you buy $300 worth of automation on it. You're broaching down into the realm of a pellet cooker. A pellet cooker is around $500. So you got to decide, hey, do I spend $600 on the pit and the automated blower, or do I just go buy myself a pit that already has everything built in? So the choice is yours. As I will mention down here, called number 10, called tribal tradition, that is another consideration. So the next thing, number 6, is a big bugaboo of mine called ease of use. Okay. So I know that what Vinny described sounds very romantic. You buy your pit, you got the fire going, you got a zen moment of every 40 minutes loading a log, putting the unlit log on the side of the lit pile, and then after 40 minutes pushing that unlit log onto the top of the pile, putting a fresh log in there, checking your meat, spraying your meat. It's all very, very romantic. But if you do that every day, as Winnie will be doing every weekend, ease of use is something that you have to consider. There are some people who want to put the meat in the pit, stick the probe in there, go to the mall with their phone, and they go to the beach and watch the entire cook. And when they come back from the mall, they want their meal to be ready. So the ease of use spans a big spectrum. And I can tell you my own confession, as I'm getting older, I'm getting lazier. So I don't seem to fire up my Weber Smoky Mountain that much anymore, because I have discovered the magic of the one button pellet cooker. One button off and one button off. I've shown you guys on my videos how to get championship type results, regardless of your pit. So whether you use a Weber kettle, you use a Weber pellet cooker, you use a what do you call something like the charcoal summit. It all works. It's just a matter of your skill level. So I tend to be a little bit agnostic in terms of equipment because you can pretty much make all equipment work. I know other folks out there who have a shovel and some chicken wire and some wood, they can outcook me with the whole ground. So the equipment isn't really that crucial. Okay. Now, the weight is very important because obviously if you have a very heavy smoker and you have a patio, you live in an apartment, it's maybe not take the weight. How you're going to move that piece of equipment around is also important. You guys know that on the competition circuit, I use the Weber Smoky Mountain 18 because it's portable. I can lift it myself. A 22 is just too big and too heavy. So the weight of the pit is very important. Winnie bought a 500 gallon. So I don't know, Winnie, how heavy is the 500 gallon offset?
So it should be about 3,000 pounds.
Okay, and how many pounds are you?
But the 500 gallon is still not big enough to hold my drink. So that's what I keep on saying.
Okay.
But I have to help me, Harry. So I have a team to everything. Prep.
Okay.
So it's not just me, but yeah. So I think we should be okay.
Yeah, even pushing it around is not easy, right? Even it's on a trailer, 500 pounds is a lot of weight to roll around a trailer.
No.
How are you going to get it to and from the event site?
So I was thinking about buying a truck, but before I do so, I'm just going to start renting it for each event. So I try not to schedule more than 2. So Enterprise rents truck. So I'll just do that for now and see how it goes. Because, I manage another vehicle in my driveway and buy insurance and register it.
Yep. So you can see that the costs scale up accordingly, right? So whenever you buy equipment, you got to think about all the other things you need to buy, like the trailer or the truck to tow your big smoker. Let's talk about number 8. Number 8 is portability, right? So portability is, like Winnie has it on a trailer. If you don't have it on a trailer, it's going to be hard to, haul a offset around. If you have something like a Weber Smoky Mountain, like I said, I use the 18 because the 18 fits in my minivan. I can cram 2 18s in the minivan. When Donna and I travel, we actually take our little WSM sometimes along our vacations even. I think we're gonna try to go and hang out in Hawaii in the coming months once the pandemic kind of calms down. And we're gonna take the 14 with us as our little mascot. So portability is very important. For example, like the 14 fits in the Southwest luggage hold, so you can do that. If you have something like a big smoker, you have to decide if you want to get a trailer or get a van. You got to put it in the van and transport it. So these are the considerations. Portability is something that you need to think about. If it's just a backyard setting, no biggie. You can have the equipment delivered and set up in your backyard. I have a lot of smokers. I have 20 smokers here. It's not like this one just showed up here. The nice folks at GMG sent me a Daniel Boone pit here. So I'm gonna give it a new rundown because it has a lot of improved features from the other ones that I have. I have the one from the Jimboe. This is the bigger one here, the 36-inch one. And this one is also cooking. The Weber is also cooking the tri-tip just to make sure that I can get this done in the right temperature. And I got a lot of smokers all around the side of the house. So, and more in the garage. So I'm an addict. I'm a smoker addict. I'm self-admitted. I like equipment, but some of the equipment is easy to carry around. But like for example, like this hasty bake is very heavy. So this is probably, I don't know, this is probably, 300 pounds. So that's something that you can kind of lift on and take to a tailgate. But something like this is the kettle, that would be absolutely fine. So portability is an important thing. The next thing I want to talk about is footprint, right? So like, for example, on this kettle, you can see the footprint. The footprint is a 3-inch, 36-inch circle. That's very, compact. You can cook a lot of food in just a very small footprint. You have to decide how big a footprint you want. If you buy something like an offset, So I want to guess that Winnie's offset 500 gallon is at least 15 feet long, Winnie?
Yeah, I think so. I actually
Okay.
don't, but
Yeah, so 15 feet long, and then how many feet wide? At least what? At least 6, right?
36, yes. The cooking,
36.
yeah.
No, what I meant is the size of the footprint of the trailer and the pit.
The trailer is the size of the car, pretty much. Because
Okay.
on the smoker is the prep table slash wood box, storage box, and a Santa Maria.
Wow, Santa Maria on top of it. Okay, yeah. So the footprint is huge, right? So you figure it's like a footprint of a car.
Yeah.
All right, so that's something to think about. So depending on how much room you have in your backyard, like for example, like my home, I just don't have room for an offset. If not, I would have gotten one. So that is a consideration, footprint. Next one is something a little bit controversial called tribal and tradition, right? Which is factor number 10. So some people consider barbecue more than just cooking the meat and the equipment. They have a affinity of the kind of tribe they belong to. So you have people who are known as pellet heads. So pellet heads like to cook on pellets, right? They think that the world is revolves around cooking on pellet cookers. Then you have the UDS. UDS stands for ugly drum smoker or drum smoker in general. And that's a kind of their own tribe, the UDS people. I'm known as the bullet people, the Weber Smoky Mountain people. I like the Weber Smoky Mountain. And then you have different genre. You have the stick burner. So Winnie would be considered a stick burner tribe. They cook on stick burner, and they can argue all day long why the offset is a superior pit and all other pits are trash. So there is a lot of tribalism in barbecue. And then you have the people who are Kamado people. And then you also have the sub-tribes within the tribe. So the Kamado people are the ceramic cooker people. And then you have the BGEs. The BGEs are the big green egg people. And the BGE people may say, I'm superior to all Kamado cookers. So if you don't have a BGA, you are nobody, you're trash. So you got to get a BGE. So, in barbecue, as in everything else in life, there's just a lot of discussion and controversy and debate over the tribalism and the traditions. For example, people tell me that, Harry, why are you running a YouTube channel and why are you cooking on pellet cookers? That's cheating, okay? So I always tell them that, hey, if you want to cheat, right, why do you even use your offset? Why don't you dig a hole in the ground, right? Put some, chicken wire and cook meat, because that's how barbecue started. That's why it's called pit barbecue. Because back in the South, that's how they used to cook barbecue. They would dig a hole in the ground, burn a bunch of wood on it. When the wood was down to embers, they would put meat on that hot coals. That's how you cook barbecue. So again, right, it's a 3-hour argument in Jerry Springer fist fight as to the tribal and the traditions in barbecue. But I just want to let you know that whatever tradition you want, right, just follow your heart. Like Marie Kondo, right? How does it make you feel? Okay. So if your pulse quickens and your heart races when you see an offset, then go buy an offset. If you are enamored by something like a turbocue is the pit that I have that kind of have a spinning rotisserie. If you are in love with that, go get yourself a turbocue. So again, it's all good. We respect and love you regardless of whatever tradition and tribe you belong to. All right, so that's number 10. Number 11 is the kind of fuel. There's basically 6 kinds of fuel for barbecue. And you can use anything from gas, that's fine. You can use electricity. You can use charcoal. I'm using briquettes here. You can also use wood. You can also use pellets. So, knock yourself out. Some people insist that they want to use only wood. Fine, go see Patty in Woodshed, Shop's Gourmet Cooking Wood in Orange County, and buy all the wood you want. Patty has at least 30 to 50 kinds of wood. So any kind of wood you want, she has. So cook with wood. If you like briquettes, this is a good one. Jealous Devil Max. They're extra large, so they burn a long time. So you can see the briquettes here. I like this one much better. No ash at all compared to Kingsford. You can also use what do you call something like charcoal. You can use charcoal. You can also use, for example, I have some bicho time here. This charcoal is from Japan, so it also is a kind of a high temperature charcoal. And then of course you can use pellets. For those of you who may not know what pellets are, let me show you what pellets are. That's how they look like. So, and then Jealous Devil also now sells pellets, and the pellets are pretty good. I've been using them for a while now. So if you are interested in checking them out, I think they're starting to sell also pellets. So Jealous Devil, just full disclosure, they sponsor me, and I've been involved with them to private label products through them. We're selling Jealous Devil Love Rubs now, so it's pretty good. So pellets are fine, and the pros and cons, of course, of pellets are that sometimes people say that they don't give enough smoke, but in my videos I show you guys ways to overcome that, how to get the best possible result from pellet cookers. So you can buy a wood blend, or you can buy kind of like one kind of wood. All pellets work under the same premise. They need BTU. The BTU is provided by oak. So all pellets, regardless of the nature, they usually have some base wood that has high BTU and smoke. Most of them contain a percentage of oak because oak provides the BTU. Then they add the flavoring wood. So you can add like apple, peach, pecan, you can add any kind of a cherry wood flavor. So it's really kind of up to the manufacturer to kind of see what type of wood blends work well for different kinds of meat. And then that's another 3-hour argument and Jerry Springer fist fight as to what kind of pellets are good. I've been using GMG Gold Blend for many years with great results. But I'm going to try out the Jacks to see if it works at all, and to see how it compares to my base choice, which is GMG Gold Blend. So I've been using it for many years. Let me keep going here. So next, number 12 is durability, and durability is important. So if you buy a pit, some pits that you buy, if you buy a charbroil from Home Depot, it's good for one summer at most before the whole thing falls apart. If you live in California, we don't have a lot of moisture and rain, so stuff doesn't rust. But if you live in other states where it's really like humid and wet, there's a chance that your pit won't last very long. And if you have a pit that's made of, let's say, steel, for example, like Winnie's got the offset, so the offset, needs TLC, and it has to be, what do you call, sort of painted over the years, and you have to kind of maintain your pit to keep it going. The nice thing about, like, I cook on Weber's. Weber's are enamel porcelain coated, fired in the factory. The finish and the durability on something like the Weber is really good because it does not flake, it does not chip, the finish won't come off. So if you buy certain kinds of smokers, some require more TLC, and also it depends on sort of the weather and the environment that you are cooking in. If it's dry, usually it's better. But if it's very wet and humid, rust is an issue. So durability is related to that. The other thing about durability is also obviously the construction of the unit. If you get like a pits and spits, it's built like a tank with like 3/8 or 1/4 inch steel. That thing will basically last forever. Some of the pits that are made, especially fabricated in China, they have very thin metal walls. They are kind of riveted together, not very sturdy. So durability wise, it also has to do with the construction and the materials. So usually you can tell from the price point. Usually when the price point is higher, they tend to not fall apart so easily. I would say that anything under like $200, usually you find like discount store like Home Depot. They're not built to last, but they do work and they fill the intended purpose. But it's not something you're gonna bequeath to your kids. So if you buy something like a PK, might cost you $500 for the tiny little grill, but that stuff is gonna last multiple generations. Okay. Next one is the temp range and ramp up, ramp down. So this is very big. If you're cooking food, you need to make sure that your pit can handle a wide range of temperatures. Searing happens at 600. Not all pits can reach 600. So if you have something like a pellet cooker, not all pellet cookers can hit 600, which is the right temperature for you to get a nice diamond grill marks on your steaks and so on, to get a 600-degree sear. The other same time, also the bottom temperature is very important because you want a pit that will cook kind of low and slow, and then also hot. Not many pits can do that. That's why folks like Weber and so on, they advertise their pits at running between 200 to 600. So that range of operational temperature is quite important when you're cooking barbecue, because you may want to start it low and slow, but you want to finish it kind of hot and sear it at the end, or you want to start off searing first and then finish it low and slow at the end. So you want to make sure that the pit that you buy has that capability. And you also need to think about something called the ramp up time and ramp down. Again, using the offset example that Winnie has, her pit, the 500 gallon, needs a minimum of 1 hour just to warm up. So you really can't put your brisket on until you heat up the pit, because there's 500 gallons of metal to be heated up. So that's a consideration if you buy that kind of a pit. On my Weber kettle, this puppy heats up in basically 5-10 minutes. I'm ready to go in about 5 minutes. If I have an offset, I would have to warm the offset up for a long time, an hour at least. A lot of my friends who have offset, they run it at least 1 hour before they put any meat in, because it takes time for the entire piece of metal to heat up. And then after you heat it up, it takes a long time to cool down. So let's say if you want to push that back onto your trailer, you have a fire hazard. If your pit is super hot, you're putting it back on the trailer to take it home after a contest. Things like a Weber kettle, you just take away the coals, toss it in a ash bucket, and then the unit cools down, ready to transport in literally a few minutes. So something to think about is the temperature range that it operates in, the ramp up time and ramp down time. So that's a consideration. Next one is the 14, which is I call showmanship. So you guys seen my videos, I made a grill out of the watermelon. So that's more for showmanship. You've seen my Turbo Q video where I had that rotisserie spinning vane from the heat, that special pit that was built to me by a guy from Florida. So if you've never seen that Turbo Q, go check out the Turbo Q video. That's a really super cool pit. That's always a conversation piece whenever people come and they say, wow, what is that spinning thing with the little feast chicken in there? Because it's a novelty. Take it to a tailgate, take it to a potluck, and it's really a lot of fun to have a novelty type of pit. There's pits that do business, that do well. There are pits that do novelty. So like, for example, my Turbo Q cooks only one chicken. So obviously in a party, not so useful, but it does have that novelty factor. When you're sitting around with your poker buddies, having adult beverages, that's always a great conversation piece, right? So next one, 15, coming down to the last four. Okay, next one is my pet peeve. I'm a lazy pitmaster, so I don't like to clean. Some pits are notoriously difficult to clean, and it involves disassembling the whole unit and putting everything back together. And some pits have to be cleaned after every single cook, which is very annoying. Right? So I like something that's easy to clean. Something like a Weber kettle is super easy to clean. You guys know that the Weber kettle has these little butterfly thingies. So all you need to do is, to clean it, you just move this back and forth. You can see the ash going down. There's a little vein in there that kind of sweeps it. So things like that, like the super easy way to clean your pit, are big boons to me. So that's why I like things as simple as a $150 kettle. It gets the job done, no problemo. When I clean my pellet grills, I have to remove the whole unit, clean the grates, take out the heat shield, clean the heat shield, clean the firebox, get underneath and scoop out all of the ash. So a little bit of work, but it's up to you, how you like to clean your pits. Again, back to the offset, Winnie's got a 500 gallons. So when it comes time to clean her 500 gallons, she's got a few options. She can spray the inside out with the degreaser, use a hose to kind of clean it down, or she can kind of go in there and scrape everything off her inside of her 500 gallon pit. So ease of cleaning is a big thing for you. If you are like me, I'm a lazy pitmaster. I hate cleaning. I love cooking, but I don't like the cleaning part, right? Let's talk about spare parts. If you buy a pit and the pits have a lot of moving parts, you want to make sure that spare parts are available. So if you bought a kettle, kettle has been in production for 50, 60 years. So if you have a broken leg, broken wheel, broken grate, plenty of spare parts. But if you buy something a little bit more esoteric and you end up, needing a replacement part, the manufacturer has gone out of business, spare parts hard to find, then that's a problem. I'll give you an example. I bought one of those Kirkland gas grills that I've been using to teach my classes. They have stainless steel parts, right? And some of these stainless steel parts have worn out. And I just did the estimate to replace all the parts of the grill. So the replacement parts cost more than the actual grill. So I had to decide if you want to fix my old gas grill, replace the parts, pay a lot of money, or just go out to Costco and just chuck mine, just put a new one in. So those are things that you have to consider. I like Weber because Weber's been around for a long time. You have any part that's broken, you know, they'll warranty it, send you the replacement part. So that's really nice. So spare parts are something to consider. Not the most important criteria, but something you want to think about. Number 17 is serviceability. Okay, serviceability is that some pits require TLC. For example, if you're a pellet cooker, the normal problems that a pellet cooker runs into, including things like called bridging. So bridging means that the pellets get stuck in the hopper. Now, this is not sometimes the fault of the design of the unit, but it has to do with the conditions you're in. So a lot of people cook in humid environments where it's wet, it's raining. Whenever moisture goes into the pellets, right? Remember those little rabbit food pellets are sawdust compressed together. So if there's moisture, sometimes the pellets will break down and then they will seize up in your pellet hopper. So you have something called a stuck auger or a bridge, they call it. So you have to break that up. So sometimes you have to remove the auger assembly on your pellet cooker to kind of get rid of all the sawdust that had formed because of it got wet or something. So for example, I'll give you an example. I left my pit out here. It rained in Southern California. Some of the water got into my pellet hopper and then got all the pellets kind of wet. So they kind of bound up into a clump. Then the unit was not usable. So you have to take apart the whole unit and take everything apart. So serviceability is important if you have that type of consideration. If you cook with Weber Smoky Mountain, there's no serviceability because you can just take apart the unit and just dump everything, clean everything, and put it back. If you have something like a drum smoker, no problemo. You have something like a Kamado, briquette, no problemo. If you have an offset, you just take it apart and just clean it. And in terms of the serviceability, if there's any broken parts, you just have it in place. So serviceability and the ability to reach into the pit is very important. It's kind of like, for those of you who do your own oil change, I know it's kind of, I'm dating myself when I say I used to change the oil in my car. Nobody does that anymore, but there was once a time when you own a car, you change your own oil. And then when you go reach into the engine compartment, you try to wrench off your oil filter. You don't have a special tool, you can't get it out. So serviceability is an important part. In a smoker, it's more applicable to electric operated smokers like a pellet cooker, okay? And then we're down to the last one, which is diversity. So diversity is kind of like how the world is, right? There are many human beings and there's 7.5, 8 billion of us. We all look different, right? We come from different backgrounds, different traditions. So for pits, some people like diversity, some people don't. I love diversity. I love every kind of pit out there, from the watermelon pit to the Kamado pit to the pellet pit to the offset. So I'm a pretty diverse guy. I love the rainbow of diversity that comes with barbecue equipment. Some people don't. Some people are purists. They say that, hey, if you don't cook with an offset, you're trash. You're nobody. Or people say, hey, my world is around pellets. I love the techno weenie convenience of cooking on a one button operated by cell phone type pit. So knock yourself out. So the diversity of your style is absolutely important. I know people who buy equipment, right, based on their belief system. I just had a client, I won't mention his name, but he lives in a very wealthy neighborhood in Los Angeles. He hired me as a personal chef to come and teach him on his equipment. His smokers were $50,000. And I didn't have the heart to tell him that they don't cook very well. But he bought it based on the brand. It was the most expensive, how should I say, beautiful smoker that you can buy for your home use. I'll give you a little clue. It's a company in Michigan, and it rhymes with Kalamazoo. Okay, so those are $25,000 grills and $25,000 smokers. And again, he bought it because he wants the best. He has a Lamborghini, he has a Porsche, and he has a multi-million-dollar home, and that's what he wanted. He says that I buy the best. So that's why he hired me to come and teach him a one-on-one class, because he bought the best equipment. Now he wants the best instructor, so he hired me. So the long story short is that the diversity or the kind of equipment that you buy, sometimes that overrules everything. And you just cannot say what's right and what's wrong, right? Because again, like I said, there's 7 billion of us on Earth. We all have different traditions and different styles, different preferences. Okay, so that's the 18 kind of high-level flyover of all the considerations. Of the 18, only you will know which one's important to you. So some people, the budget is not important. So whether it's $50 or $50,000 for smokers, they don't care, because their criteria or their factors are weighted in some of the other areas. Some are quantitative, right? Numbers like square footage, capacity, weight. Some are qualitative. I like the zen of putting a log in every 40 minutes, and that's just what I like, and I'm going to do what I like. So there you have it, a little bit of a flyover on the 18 considerations that you need to think about when you buy a pit. And then if my timing is perfect, my meat is ready to cook, to serve. Yep, see, look at that.